was kind of an accident, honestly. I mean, obviously, like my last record, a rock, had like a little bit of foreshadowing that maybe I was leaning a little bit more into the rock world with like Boots and Ain't a Bad Day and maybe a couple others. But I have a handful of people. David Garcia plays a really big hand in bringing that rock side out of me, and like he wrote the riff for Kill Shit Till I Die. He wrote the riff for I Ain't in the Country Anymore. A bunch. He's really brought that out of me, and so basically I would write like Jack was the first song that I wrote for this record before I knew that I was writing it, and we finished it. I turned it in. My manager Seth and Joey were like, "This is pretty dope. It's pretty heavy, but it's and speaking in the country sense, right?"
Yeah.
But then I wrote Red, and that's like a very country song. And then again, kind of accidentally, I wrote 30 Out 6, and then I wrote Beer. And it just after I had about 6 of each, we looked down and we were like, damn, we kind of have like a half rock, half country thing going here. Why don't we just chase after that? And so then the rest of the writing process became a little bit more intentional, where I would go in and be like, okay, I'm missing one good rock song with this kind of feel, and then go in and say I'm missing a country song, and so the rest of it became a little more intentional on purpose. But at first it was just kind of writing, and sort of looked down and realized that we already had been working on like a half and half kind of deal without knowing it.
So on the title track, the lyrics in that song, it sounds like you dealt with some kind of doubt, maybe going into the rock side of things. Can you speak about maybe some of the challenges you dealt with that?
Yeah, I mean, they were all internal. None of that, all the challenges that I faced, I think were like internal, and just being a little apprehensive towards making the switch, or I won't say making the switch, but like, because I will always be and want to be considered a country artist, but I want to be considered a rock. I want to be able to do both. But there was just a little bit of a battle, and it's it's an uphill battle when you're doing something like different or against the grain, and it's a lot easier when you are the Mockingbird and you're putting out songs that are easy to listen to and they're radio songs. And so it was just the internal battle that I had between, And the Mockingbird side of me is also a little bit of the songwriter side of me, that like I write douchey bro country songs for the radio, and that's just, it sucks, but like I'm kind of a part of the problem when it comes to writing country songs, and kind of the issue, or the struggle of like how much I want to keep doing that as opposed to really just leaning into the rock thing. And a lot of people don't know this, but in the line like do this and do that and that shirt and this hat, a lot of people think that that's the label, like a label head or something.
That's
talking to me, but I'm talking to myself. Right. It's the Mockingbird talking to the crow, saying no, don't be doing all that shit. Like, just stick to the format kind of thing. And so it's all kind of in my head.
That's cool. And I can see how, as an artist, you would feel the need to second guess yourself because you're under so much pressure at the level that you're operating at. And hopefully, as I'm confident they will, the rock fans will welcome you with open arms.
Oh, dude.
Based on what I've heard.
Man, I've been blown away at how much like rock radio and guys like y'all and rock artists have reached out. I'll look up and be like, oh my God, so-and-so is like following me on Instagram or reached out and said, hey dude, I'm a fan. And that, just to know that I have been or am being accepted in the rock world, it means like the world to me. Like it really does. I feel like I'm, it was like the first year I had my record deal in town in Nashville, and I was like, I'm the kid, right? Like the dude, and you kind of have to win everybody over, and I have that feeling again, but in the best way. And I'm like honored that rock and roll has taken me in. It's fucking cool.
The first time I heard Boots, I'm like, how do we get this guy doing rock music? I wanted to recruit. I felt like I was trying to recruit you into rock.
Dude, you didn't have to do anything, man. It just kind of happened.
So let's go back to kind of the beginning for you, because I think you have a very cool story. You moved to Nashville so young, and you overcame, you were there for years before things really took off for you. So you grew up in Mississippi?
Yeah.
What was your childhood like?
Awesome. Man, I was from a middle-class family. My dad was a chicken farmer. My mom worked for the public high school, the city school, as a food service manager. And I played baseball and grew up with a good group of friends and got in trouble like everybody else, but I had a very normal childhood, and I love Philadelphia, Mississippi. It's a really cool small town, and it's a gem of a small town, and people are so proud to be from there. Like whether you went on to do other things or not, and so it kind of has that aura around it of like the pride of being from Philadelphia. And anyway, I had a very awesome childhood and hometown experience.
What's the population size?
6,900 now. It was 7,900 when I lived there 13 years ago, but now it's dropped a little bit, so it's less than 7,000.
That's a real small town.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
Were you more of a country music kid or a rock kid growing up?
Rock all the way. I didn't listen to
feel
country
that.
until like Eric Church came along. My dad instilled rock and roll in me. Like by the time I was like not in a car seat, you know what I mean? He was playing music for me, and then and that was all mostly classic rock and maybe a little bit of the grunge stuff because he was still younger like at that time, so he was still kind of hearing current music. But then once I discovered like MTV, I then sort of started to discover develop my own like taste, I guess, for rock and roll.
What were some of the bands that you listened to as a kid?
My first CD I ever bought was Yourself or Someone Like You, the Matchbox 20 record.
That's a good record.
Yeah, I loved it. Third Eye Blind, the Blue record, was one of my favorites, and that was kind of on the soft rock side. Obviously, like Pearl Jam and STP and stuff was like kind of the grunge stuff I was saying that my dad was like introducing me to. But then when I got 9 or 10 years old, dude, I'm so unapologetic about this, but when Creed came out, I like lost my shit.
My dude.
When Nickelback came out, or especially
go.
the Silver Side Up, the first record that I heard, I lost my shit. Hybrid Theory, I lost my shit. Puddle of Mud, Come Clean, like all of the stuff that people call butt rock now.
That's me.
Was my favorite. I
Yep.
obsessively like Rain Man, just listen to
Yes.
it over and over and over again.
That's me.
That was my shit. I tell you another one. Speaking of him, was Alter Bridge.
Yes.
Dude. One Day Remains is the first name of the first record,
Yes.
and Blackbird specifically. Those first two records and that was all over into like my teenage years when I could drive. But
Like Watch Over You and one of my favorite records ever.
Broken Wing, Metalingus.
Literally one of
Burn
my
It Down.
Edge's theme song.
Dude, that's sick.
Literally everything you're mentioning is literally I was growing up listening to the exact same
How old
stuff.
are you?
I'm 33.
I'm 32.
So
Perfect.
we're the same. We're
Yeah.
that Breaking Benjamin,
Yeah, man.
early 2000s, which is when I listen to this record, when I hear the stuff you're putting out, it gives me kind of that atmospheric, alternative.
It's where it comes from, man.
post-grunge.
100%, dude.
That's the sound that for me, it's like, load me up on that sound 24/7.
Absolutely. And that's like the age too where you're the most vulnerable for influence. Like your like creative brain is the most wide open, I feel like, around that like early teens and late like childhood years. So all of that stuff I fill my brain with, and then it's kind of shut off, and that's what I have to like regurgitate when I write,
So what was the first show you ever went to?
My first show I ever went to was Aerosmith, the 9 Lives tour in Birmingham, Alabama. My dad, it was like 98, 99, or 2000. I can't remember the year, but I was in like second grade, and my dad signed me out from school, and he took me, and it was fucking awesome, bro. They opened with Back in the Saddle, and they did all the hits, and then their encore, they came out, they did one song for the encore, and they did Heartbreaker by Led Zeppelin, and then that was it.
Wow.
Which was so random and cool, man. It was super cool.
Your dad sounds like he rules, signing you out of
My
school.
dad is cool, man. He's a cool guy.
I'm sure
I give
your
him a lot
parents
of
are
shit,
proud.
but he's a cool dude.
So you said you moved to Nashville at the age of 19. And I kind of have two questions on this, but it can really be kind of comprised into one, which is, you got to be broke when you move out there. Mm-hmm. How did you make that work?
Dude, so I moved to Nashville when I was 19, and for the first summer, I came with a little bit of money, but not a lot. And for the first summer, I worked at a golf course, cleaning golf carts here in Nashville, and then I went to school. And my parents paid for my school, and they helped me a ton. But I will say, when I graduated, and I had thought that I had a publishing deal lined up, and it fell through, and so I was like broke, and I was out of school. Wasn't nobody helping me. Like, you know how that is. That was the rules. Like, you're out of college, so figure it out. Go work at go find a job, and I didn't want to get a job because I majored in songwriting, and so I put together a band and somehow landed a gig in East Tennessee where I opened for Rodney Atkins, and I got $2,000 out of him, and I basically survived off of that for like 3 months until I could sign. I finally signed my first publishing deal, and then I was still broke. My draw was terrible, and I was broke. And I remember one time I had a dog, and she chewed through my phone charger, and it was the only one I had, and I had like 7 cents in my bank account, and I didn't get paid till like 2 days later. So I basically like had a dead phone, or like had to go to my friend's house and charge my phone, or just have a dead phone for like a few days because I didn't have enough money to buy a phone charger.
Oh my gosh, that is you got to really want this to kind of go through that. Too.
Yeah, man.
You knew when you moved to Nashville that was what you wanted to do?
I moved here with that purpose, to write. And at the time, though, it was to write songs. Like, I did that band thing, and I got that opening gig, and that was like a brief moment of like 6 months where I thought I wanted to be an artist. But then I like signed a publishing deal, and I was like, damn, this is awesome. You should get paid. You know, for me, it was $12,000 a year. I'll just tell you, it was $12,000 a year. But all I had to do was write songs. You know what I mean? And that's when I was like, man, I just want to be a songwriter. And then, you know, years later, the artist thing kind of happened.
Early in your career, you're talking about you're not a draw, you're uncertain about your career, and you told this story about a napkin that someone passed you in a tip jar telling you to quit when you were just getting started. Now you're the reigning ACM Songwriter of the Year, which is prestigious. What went through your mind that night when you got that in the tip jar?
When I got the thing, man, I wasn't even mad. Like, it was me and 3 other buddies, and we were playing a writer's round, which in Nashville, you basically sit on 4 stools and with an acoustic guitar, and you go in a row and you play songs that you've written. Now, the bigger good writers rounds, they're all hits, you know, and hit writers, and it's a moment for people to see, like, the people behind the song and tell the story and all that. But we didn't have any hits, so we were just playing our best songs. And, somebody wrote, literally quit with an exclamation point and underlined it and put it in our tip jar. But, dude, we were all so hungry and so, like, determined that it didn't even make me or anybody else mad. But, it was only... We were just like, well, fuck that guy. We think we're good, you know what I mean? And so I kept it, dude. I literally kept it, and it's at my house right now. I still have it to this day. But no, it was, dude. It was fuel to the fire. Like, I didn't even get butthurt or anything. I was just like, well, fuck that guy. We got this, dude.
When I watched you tell that story, it was also the way you told it. It was like you were cutting a promo, and I wanted to jump out of my seat. You literally see in the video clip, which we're going to show a clip of that. The crowd by the end of the story is like, yeah, like it was like the ending to a movie.
Yeah, man. I didn't know that I was going to give that speech that night either, and I found out, like, I guess that night that I had won, and I was sitting next to my wife. Here's a crazy part. This is like a sidebar to the story. The same night that the quit napkin thing happened, over in the corner was this old man named Sonny Throgmorton, and he was a songwriter, wrote a ton of hits back in the 70s, maybe 80s. And he came up to us and he was like, man, you guys are awesome. Like, y'all are from Nashville. Y'all are doing the songwriter thing. You know, like, stick with it. I think you guys are good. And so I met him that night, and I thought it was super cool to meet Sonny Throgmorton at the Floribama, some not random, it's a pretty popular bar. But anyway, long story short, I knew I was winning that award that night, but I did not know that Sonny Throgmorton was being honored that night as, like, the American poet. And they didn't put that part in they edited my speech and they didn't put that part. But the second that I realized he was going to win that award that night, I was like, I have to tell that story now. Because it was the same night that all of that happened. It was like totally like universe coming together kind of thing. It was super cool.
Yeah, that was powerful. What was the first big moment in your career where you felt like you were gaining momentum?
Oh, like in my artist career? Because I have okay.
Or songwriting. I mean, when you're just starting to do this job in this industry.
Okay, well, I have 2. I have a songwriter one and an artist one.
Right.
But the songwriter one, to be honest, was Florida Georgia line. I went out. They had me. They used to bring all these young writers out, like nobodies, out to kind of get a feel for who the up and comers were. They were really smart about that, and I was one of the nobodies that they had out on the road to write with them. And we wrote. Didn't really get any great songs, and then I didn't hear from them. But they ended up having me back out like 6 months later, and I still had no hits. I had nothing really to my name, and I finally landed a couple of good songs with them. And I remember Tyler calling me, and he was like, "Man, do you want to just come out with us for the rest of this year and help us write our next record?" And that was like the first really moment where I was like, "Oh man, I think I'm gonna be okay." Like I think, you know what I mean? It was a huge moment. As an artist, there is a Live Nation festival that actually does not exist anymore, or for the time being, called Lake Shake. And it was the summer of 2019. I signed my record deal in 2018, but I toured with Morgan Wallen. I'd only done opening gigs. I'd never like played any sort of headliner show or anything like that. And we were playing the small tent stage at Lake Shake that probably held like 3,000 or 4,000 people. Yeah. I won't say small, but it was like this, there was the giant stage and then the tent
feature
stage.
tent. We go to a lot of festivals.
So this one's like next from Nashville stage.
Yes, exactly.
And dude, we got up there, and I had no gauge of who my fans were because I'd only done opening slots and I only had 10 songs out. And that tent was completely full of people. It's where the Hardy chant originated. And they knew every word, and it was just my first moment as an artist where I was like, all right, we officially have fans, and like people know the music, and that was the first bit of real momentum that I felt was at that festival.
What's the best advice you've received thus far in your career?
That is a great question. I would say the biggest piece of advice, and I don't even know who gave me this, but I'm sure a few people have, but it's like just to be nice and be like respectful and respect people, and because that just takes you so far, man. If I like met a kid that I didn't think was very good, but he was like really nice and a great hang, I would work with that person again over a kid that was really good that was a shithead. So that takes you so far in this town.
It's amazing you say that, because when I was a kid, it sends chills down my spine. But Conan O'Brien is a late night talk show host who he had a very funny late night show, and he signed off the show reflecting on his career, and it had a really big impact on me. And he said to anybody watching this show, he was like, if you work hard and you be nice to people, good things will happen in your life. And I really do believe that's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I found that to be...
Karma is real, dude.
Yeah.
You can call it what you want, but that shit is 100% real.
Yes.
I swear it is.
Yeah. What was the worst advice you ever received?
I won't mention his name because there's a chance he might see this.
Sure.
And if you do, I'm sorry. But the worst advice I ever received, I was playing... It was a man that I know from my hometown, and I came in, I was in a situation where I played him a few songs, and he had a little bit of Nashville experience, and he said, the best advice I can give you is no matter what, have a backup plan. And that just like pissed me off so bad. And I was like, yes, sir, yes, sir. But I was like, fuck that, dude. Mm-hmm. You had a backup plan, and that's why you failed. Like, I tell people all the time, like, you should, if you want to do it, you should blindly move to Nashville and never have a backup plan, because that ensues a little bit of you thinking that it's not going to work out. And he told me that like 3 times that morning, and I hated that. And that was the worst advice I think you can give somebody, and because it only sets you up for failure, I think.
I've heard a lot of people say that. I think I've heard Jelly Roll say that as well. He said that to us in one of the conversations we had. So you write Up Down with Morgan Wallen. It goes to #1, helping launch the career of who is now going to be one of the biggest country singers in history, I think it's fair to say at this point.
Yeah.
What was your life like at that point when that song took off for you?
When it went #1?
Yeah.
It was the best day of my life, man. And like, anything from 5 to 1, if you're a songwriter, it pays the same, but it wasn't like I was already celebrating that my life was going to change because I was going to not be broke for the first time. But just to nail down a number one, it was, dude, it was the best day of my life. And I'll never forget, I was on the road riding. It was actually Lake Shake a year to the day before I played, before I had signed my record
Right.
deal. And I was out with Florida Georgia Line, and I was riding with Jordan Schmidt and Russell Dickerson. And I was useless because I was so excited that I had a number one that I was like, I don't want to fucking write a song today, dude. I just want to party. But man, it meant everything, dude. It was like security for, like, you know, getting into better rooms in Nashville, and obviously like not maybe having to worry about being month to month. And also, it was Morgan's first number one as an artist and my first number one as a writer, and so it was just really special. And he was a Big Loud artist, and I had become very affiliated with Big Loud and was talking about signing a record deal with him, and it all was just very euphoric because I felt like it was the cornerstone, like beginning of, like, you know, the start of my career, like you know what I mean, as a professional or whatever.
So you continue working, and you're gaining steam, obviously, from that. You end up writing, and we were just listening to this the other day, and we were talking about, man, how hard the lyrics go, and God's Country with Blake Shelton.
Oh yeah,
How was that?
dude, that was the first song I wrote in 2019.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a funny story. So I just got back, and I actually just got back. I take like I guess you'd call it a sabbatical every year. I go back to my hometown in Mississippi, and I deer hunt for as long as I can as long as they'll give me off in January. And in this case, it was 2 weeks. And I just gotten back from that 2019, the beginning of 2019, and I hunt some family land that we've owned for like nearly 80 years. Like my family, it's not a lot, it's a few hundred acres, but we've deer hunted on it for, you know, 80 years, and we're really proud of it. And so I wrote down God's Country because that's kind of what I think of when I go out there. And we wrote that song on a Thursday, and Blake Shelton recorded it the following Tuesday, and it was on the radio like 2 weeks later.
What
And
a turnaround.
Dude, that never happens in Nashville. Like, occasionally, but like once every 5 years, something like that happens. But it was the coolest. And like Scott, the producer, and even Blake would text me and be like, this is going to be one of the biggest songs of my career, his career. And I was just like, what is going on right now? And man, that song, I had Up, Down, and Simple. I wrote Simple with FGL. That was my second number one. But God's Country, like, that like really started, that song changed my life. That song had a huge part of me growing momentum as an artist, because we performed it live, and just the hype and the word got out that, you know, that I wrote the song, and kind of took it in as as my own song in a way. And it changed everything for me, dude. It really, really did.
So, and this is very funny because I wrote this question before you said it early in the interview. You said, you know, you drop a rock and it foreshadows where we are today.
Yeah.
That's the word I use.
Foreshadow?
Yeah, foreshadowing.
Nice.
A rock. I'm like, I knew this is the direction that, and I know at the time that really wasn't your intention, but when you listen to that, I'm like, in many ways, this is also a rock record.
Yeah.
And so, is this the direction that you kind of always saw things going, where you're this hybrid of a massive country star and you're getting into rock, you're surely going to be massive there too? Is that kind of the direction you always saw things going?
Yeah. The first song that I ever cut, the song that I somewhat based my record deal around was 4x4. Even Rednecker ended up being my first single, but 4x4, and that was like foreshadowing on its own, because it was like I knew it just took a little time to figure out my sound, and I think that, you know, a lot of people are like that, and people chat. Look at like Billie Eilish. It took her a few records to dial in her thing, but yeah, I always knew that I wanted to do, you know, the heavier thing, but the struggle that I had was like the songwriter-ish side of me that wanted to do stuff like a rock or like Sign Sober You. Do y'all know that song?
Yeah.
It's like the ballad. So there was a little bit of apprehension with like, how far do we lean into it? Because if people get used to that and then I drop something soft, like, is that going to fall flat? and so it was kind of gradual, but yeah, I mean, from the very beginning, I kind of knew that was the direction I wanted to take with everything.
And it's obviously worked very well for you, and this new album will solidify that. So the next year, really a few months later, Morgan Wallen releases Dangerous, the double album. It's now one of the biggest country albums of all time.
Yep.
I don't know what the numbers are. It's still in the top 10 2 years later. Crazy.
How many albums sold? Is it Diamond? 10 million?
It's got to be Diamond.
Yeah, got it.
It's already Diamond. So like you've got.
He's gonna Google.
Yeah, that's wild. So how many songs did you write on that album? Can you name the songs you wrote?
I can try. Living the Dream. Beer Don't. Something Country. Sand in My Boots. I'm from a small town. What's the fucking name of the song? Still going down.
Still going
in the
down.
country. More Than My Hometown. This Bar. I think that's all.
Dude, how has that album affected your life?
Man, it's done very well. I mean, it's crazy, and I'm still seeing residual effects. I think maybe financially, but also just that stuff is still,
Those are brilliant songs. Sand in My Boots, dude.
We wrote that right across the road, right over there.
I want to say too, did you write Tennessee Fan?
I did.
Bro.
Yeah, I did write Tennessee Fan.
We've been wearing that song out.
You mean the Tennessee Fan song?
It was Mississippi first.
No,
It was
Sand
not-
in My Boots was Mississippi first.
Okay, Sand in My Boots was,
Something
got it.
something about the way she kissed me tells me she loved Mississippi. Because I wrote it. We just wrote it like, I guess from my perspective at the time, and it was a town outside of Knoxville, hidden by some town outside of Jackson, hidden by some tall pine trees, and it wasn't Knoxville and Dogwood.
You're a wordsmith. That's so great. How do you balance? You're writing your own hit songs, you're touring in support of your own hit songs, and you're writing hit songs for other people. What's your schedule like? Probably nuts.
It's pretty nuts. But I treat that like I have two jobs. And but I'd go crazy if I didn't. Like, I don't know how some of these artists that don't necessarily write all the time, like Kenny and Luke Bryan, I mean, he writes some, but he's not like, grinding every day. I would go crazy if I got off the road and like didn't have anything to do. But yeah, man, I mean, we tour. We're usually gone Thursday, Friday, Saturday, back Sunday. And I usually take Mondays off, but I'm trying to write Tuesday, Wednesday, and sometimes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday every week if I can. And I just treat it like I have two jobs, honestly. And it's just kind of a part of the routine, so I feel like I'm used to it. I know it's grindy sometimes, but I love it. And it feels like when I get back to town, I have a purpose when I'm home, and I'm not just going stir crazy or like fucking off and playing golf, which I love to do, play golf and fish and do all that stuff. But it's nice to come back and also feel like I have a purpose in town too.
Who's the best country artist at golf?
Dude, surprisingly, Colt Ford is really good. Colt
Shout
Ford's a
out Colt
scratch
Ford.
golfer. Jake Owen's really good. Do you know Jameson Rogers? Jameson's a stick, dude.
Yeah. Shout out Jameson Rogers.
And then I've never played with him, but I heard Kip Moore's a pretty good golfer. Darius is pretty good. There's a surprisingly decent sized group of good golf. I think Cole Swindell's pretty good. So
It seems like golf is a big deal out here.
yeah, a lot of people love it, man.
So the Mockingbird and the Crow, when did you start to work on this album?
Jack started, dude. Let me look up the date.
Yeah.
I'm just curious because that was definitely. Jack was so long ago that I almost thought about doing it as a deluxe for a rock. That's how long ago it was. I have Jack in so many fucking songs that I don't even. Okay. February 9th, 2021, so almost 2 years ago. Wow. And that was the first song that I wrote for it. So, yeah, it's been 2 years in the making, and it was just sort of a gradual like writing and then cutting a few, and then writing, and like, recording a few and writing and recording a few, like just a gradual process. It took about a year and a half. So the record's really been done since May, I think, of 2022, and we just couldn't really find a great time to put it out. But yeah, a year and a half of working on it. But yeah, started at the beginning of 21.
So, Wait in the Truck has become a massive hit. Lainey Wilson, she's a massive star. You're both just blowing up. How did that song come together?
I wrote that song with Hunter Phelps and Jordan Schmidt. Also in 2021, I believe. Yeah, shortly after Jack, actually, because I think it was like March 24th, because we celebrated my wife's birthday a couple days after I got that song back. But Hunter and I had that idea, and at first we kind of want to write it like douchey, like, I heard you got roughed up, at a bar, and like, come with me and I'm gonna go kick this dude's ass, and man, it was like, it sounds so cliche and stupid, but it was like a rainy day, and the three of us had nothing to do that day, and we got in the room, and we talked about that idea, and we all liked it, but we were like, man, it could be better than just like, like going and kicking a dude's ass. And we talked about how much we loved Old Red, and there's so many great story songs, and so we just sat down and said, man, let's just try to write like a crazy story song, and it man, that was the most, like, again, this sounds super cheesy, but like otherworldly, like spiritual, supernatural day, because I don't remember anything about writing that song. Everybody was so like on fire, and everybody had awesome lines that day that we just like hammered through it, and just we like looked down and we were like, holy shit, this song is done. I mean, it truly, everybody was on their A game that day, and that one just sort of came out. I mean, it really did. I don't remember anything about whose line was who or whatever. It just, when you're writing a really, really great song and you know it, there's something really cool that happens in the room where, like, it gets real serious, but not like in a pressure way, but just like, oh fuck, we got something really good here, and then time just like goes away, man, and you just get so immersed in that lyric that you just forget kind of the details of the day. But man, it was a special day.
You initially released Sold Out, comes out on Instagram, a video.
It's right here.
Yeah.
Standing right here.
Right here. And you're screaming on the track, very different from what country fans are used to hearing. By the way, even the video that was edited, I guess Tanner Gallagher does this. Is that your videographer?
What was the Sold Out video? Sorry, I was skipping.
The live video?
Oh,
yes.
yeah. It's the wall-to-wall video thing. Yeah,
I'm such a fan of his editing.
Yeah, dude, Tanner did that. Tanner's a beast, bro.
He's one of the best in the business.
Very good.
So were you concerned that maybe, there'd be some pushback from like country fans that you're not meeting their expectation? Not that it's a fear, but...
Yeah, I mean, like, pushback's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I was definitely like, the moms and the churchgoers that are over 40 years old are going to fucking hate this. And they did. Some of them did. You know what I mean? This ain't country music, but I was like, well, it's kind of not. You know what I mean? Maybe that's not what we're going for.
Yeah. But then they still got Wait in the Truck.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of
You're being very generous.
To always be,
I think that's the perfect way to do it, man. Like, just do whatever you want, and you're so good at both.
And I think it really does help people, like everybody says, well, if you don't like it, don't listen to it. But if you have something else to give them, then you can actually say, like, if you don't like it, don't listen to that, listen to this instead. And I feel like you kind of get the best of both worlds a little bit.
There's the video of you playing Sold Out live, and it's like thousands of people doing a champagne shower in the crowd.
I think that was a country concert in Ohio. Was it outside during the day? Country concert. Shout out Fort Laramie. That place fucking...
Boy, that crowd was something else.
That was it. That was a moment. That was a huge... When we went into it and we saw, like, literally, you're right, like thousands of beers, we were all like, dude, that was fucking cool.
I was pissed I wasn't there. So now, Sold Out is the theme for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And you recently interfered in a match on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was awesome. I was more nervous about that than probably pretty much anything I've ever done. I got a text. So Neil Lowy is the head of entertainment for the WWE, and he lives in Nashville, and he and I have gotten to be really good buddies. He's a really great guy. and so he's put me on a lot of, gotten me, in with a lot of the WWE things, and anyway, he texted Tracker and said, "Do you think Hardy would want to be in a skit, or a bit on TV?" And so Tracker asked me, and I was like, "Yeah, sure. What do I got to do?" And he was like, "I think you're gonna fucking hit somebody with a guitar."
Hell yeah.
And I was like, I'm in. And we showed up. We went to, the thing is, wrestling is not fake. Wrestling is real.
Yes.
It's rehearsed. That guitar was fucking real.
Yes.
And it was, I can assure you it was real. So we went through it, and the dude was like, "Hit me as hard as you can. The harder you hit me, the less it's going to hurt." And anyway, it worked out perfect. It broke right on his back, man.
Wow. Yeah, that was... I saw that and I said, man, we're bringing the Attitude Era back. I have theories about this Royal Rumble that it's also going to be very big. There's a lot of rumors. I don't know anybody at WWE, but the rumor is you look at a guy like Stone Cold Steve Austin,
Yep.
who's training and is in ring shape, and he showed up at Mania last year.
Oh,
and
shit.
I'm just saying, you're performing at Royal Rumble, and this is probably going to be a pretty historic Royal Rumble that you're at.
Damn, that's cool.
All right, so who were some of your favorite wrestlers growing up?
Sting, Psychosis.
Oh, you're legit.
Oh yeah, I mean,
You're a legit fan, dude.
I was in it for a minute. Dude, Kane, Goldberg. I was a big Goldberg guy.
yeah.
I was kind of even a hipster when I was a kid. Like everybody liked Stone Cold, so I didn't like Stone Cold as much as everybody else, but still cool. Sting was my favorite one. I know he was really popular, but Sting was. I love the face paint, and all that stuff. I thought he was cool.
So after the Royal Rumble, you're doing this is a big deal for rock. You're playing at 2 historic rock venues in one night, at the Troubadour and at the Roxy in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
First of all, how the hell do you play 2 shows in one night?
Dude, we're gonna do it, man. I think we have our 2 different setups. Like, so when we get to the Rock, I could be wrong about this. Are they moving all their gear over?
No, we have 2 sets of gear.
Okay, 2 sets of gear.
That's dope.
And so the second we finish, we're hopping in a car and going over, and the guitar players just show up with their just the guitars they're gonna use, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, it'll be waiting for us when we get to the Roxy.
So you covered Blurry by Puddle of Mud a couple years ago, which, I mean, I loved it. And you did shows recently with the band. So what was that experience like playing with Puddle of Mud?
Dude, it was awesome. I was like nervous because I never met them or any of those guys, especially Wes, and I was such a big fan.
Yes.
And met, super nice. Just right before they went on stage, and I watched side stage, and I watched their entire set, dude, and sang every word. They opened with Psycho, and anyway, it was awesome, and they were super nice. We didn't get to hang a whole lot, but every interaction I had with him or any of those guys was super nice, and they stayed. And after they played and watched our whole set, I could see them side stage, and anyway, so it was a really great experience for me.
What did they think about the cover? Was there any discussion about that?
I don't even know if we talked about it.
I'm sure he loved it. That's great.
I mean, I guess if he hated it, he probably would have told me. So I guess I got the seal of approval.
Yeah, shout out to Wes.
Yeah.
So I thought this was so cool. You came out during a Bill Murray performance.
Yeah.
And you were screaming, and the crowd was hyped. What was that like, man?
Dude, that was awesome. So that I became a fan of Bill Murray a few years ago, and I went to follow them on Instagram, and I noticed that the Bill Murray account was already following me, and I was like, oh my God, this is cool. And then I went to send them a message to be like, hey, I'm a huge fan, and they had sent me a message, and so I was like, this is fucking awesome. And so Johnny and I from, Johnny Frank, struck up a relationship, and he came to a couple shows. They hung out. I gave his buddy a tattoo one night after our show. And anyway, he and I remained in touch and talk all the time. And so he asked me, he was like, would you want to do a feature on my next record? And I was like, sure. But it was around like album release time. And I told him, and this is just part of it, but I was like, man, I can't have my name on it, but I would love to still do it.
Yeah.
And so I did it, but nobody, he never revealed who it was. And so when they came to Nashville, that was like the moment to you know, and I think a lot of people had figured it out, but like reveal who it was or whatever. But dude, it was sick. I mean, I've never been on stage at you wouldn't even call that metal, but like it's treated like a metal show. And I've been to a bunch, but I've never like been on the stage and seen the pit open up and do all that shit. And it was cool, man. It was like
you were a natural, dude. Moments. You were a natural up there. I mean, you obviously have performed so many times, but you like fit right into the metal, and your screaming vocals sounded so great.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, dude. Very natural.
I'm working on them.
Were you going to like Warped Tour and Ozfest when you were a kid growing up?
No, I never did. Man, being from Philadelphia, like that was just, it was hard to get to anywhere that they would have been.
Truly out there.
I mean, which 3 hours is not that far, but we're 3 hours from Birmingham, we're 3 hours from Memphis, and we're 3 hours from New Orleans, but we're right in the middle of all of them. And dude, no, we would go to Columbus, Mississippi, had a venue that every now and then would get a show. Like I saw the Chariot there. And then Jackson, Mississippi had a couple venues that they, like I saw Gideon there, and do you remember My Children, My Bride? They were like an old, and then I came to a bunch when I moved to Nashville, especially my first like 2 years here. They had Scream the Prayer at that.
Gideon was great too, man.
Yeah,
they're still out.
Daniel, I know they're like split, but I think they're split between Mississippi and Alabama. But I think they're mostly Alabama, but
they were heavy.
Yeah, they were super cool. I love Gideon.
Yeah,
but I went to like a few, like Thrash and Burn. I saw Born of Osiris headline Thrash and Burn back in the day, and Scream the Prayer was another big festival. So
another great band.
I'd been to a bunch.
People were very pumped in the comments of the video.
Oh, the shirt
playing "Kill Shit Till I Die," and it's like it's really cool to see this guy that is massive in country that's exposing millions of people to a band like Born of Osiris that's been working their asses off their whole career.
They've been at it for years, like 10, 15 years.
And they've got a great body of work, and it's just, very heavy. So, talking about you and this movement in rock, and there are 3 people that come to mind, really 4, and we talked about that as well, that are uniquely positioned to do really good things in rock. It's obviously you, Jelly Roll, Brantley Gilbert, and I'd say Co Wetzel as well. We talked about that. How did you meet Jelly Roll and Brantley Gilbert and Co? How did you meet these guys?
Okay, Jelly. The first time I met Jelly, I played golf with him. We had talked a little bit on Instagram and stuff, just like through the last few years, but I just met him sort of. Ernest was like, "You want to go play golf with me and Jelly today, or whenever?" And I said, "Yeah." And so we just played a round of golf together, and then struck up a friendship after that. Brantley and I wrote together at the end of 2020, and that's where we met. Totally hit it off. Like Brantley's, they all 3 of those dudes are awesome, but Brantley's fucking awesome, dude. He's a great dude, and he's already done a lot for me with like cutting a lot of my songs, and he had me on a song, and anyway, we wrote a few times, and then we were like buddies ever since. And Co, the first time I met, again, we had kind of been I got his number through our management because they're buddies with his management, and we just started texting and talking about working together in some capacity, and then we got put on, was it 2021? We got put on a acoustic tour of Texas together, co-headlining, just sitting on stools and playing. It was fucking crazy, bro.
Well, I bet.
And but on and off the stage.
Yeah.
And we just got to know his camp, and they're fucking awesome people, man. And then since then we've been fortunate to play a couple shows together. But my camp and his camp are really, really tight. Co's crew, they're man, they're like an intimidating group of dudes, but they are the nicest dudes you'll ever meet, especially if they like you, and they're respectful and just super, super, super nice guys. And so anyway, we really have gelled with their crew a ton. And I'm a big Co Wetzel fan. Like he opened for us at Rock the South, and we were right after him, and like I saw like the first 5 songs. I was like, fuck, I got to get ready. And I was walking off the stage, and then he started playing like Drunk Driving, and I like would run back up there and be like, yeah. And that happened twice before I had to 10 minutes before we went on stage, I had to go throw like my show clothes on. But I'm a big fan of Co. Like I love his music and love what he's doing. I feel like he and I are very similar, but he's kind of doing it like the Texas way,
Right.
You know. And I'm having a little bit more of a Nashville lyric on top of my stuff, but I'm a big fan of his music.
And so, speaking of Ernest, who is another incredibly talented songwriter and has a very bright future in country music, Jelly Roll was recently on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast, and this is something that he said. I wanted to kind of get your take on it, your reaction. He said, Ernest, Hardy, and Morgan have created a sense of actual, genuine friendship in the music business that hasn't been seen since how Waylon and Willie were with each other. You guys really seem to kind of root for each other and sincerely lift each other up.
Yeah, we talk every day. I talk to Ern every day. I talk to Morgan every day. If not every day, 5 times a week.
No competition, just literally rooting for your boys to win.
Yeah,
That's
because
how it
we're
should
all
be.
like, if we all win, if Ern wins, I win, and if
Yes.
I win, Morgan wins, and all that. So like, we all just came. We all had nothing at the same time, and then had something at the same time, and there's just something cool about like coming up together. And obviously Morgan has just but not we don't. There's no jealous, nothing like that, bro. It's all just like, we all just kind of can't believe it's all happening to us. You know what I mean?
I think it sets a good example, though, for a lot of people. That
Yeah.
you've got these 3 dudes that, without question, are just homies that want each other to win.
Yeah.
And I just was really, I thought that was a great observation by Jelly Roll. Who
It is, dude. He
one of the most
nerds out
charismatic-
about us, dude. I
he's-
think it's cool.
He's one of the most charismatic people I've ever met. He is very much. He's been very good to us, and just a very, very cool guy, and also very funny.
Mm-hmm.
So
His one-liners are fucking hilarious,
dude,
bro. He
he's
has
got-
all
he's got
kinds
all
of
these
shit.
sayings and all
He
these,
does,
like,
man. It's awesome.
He does, man. An album like The Mockingbird and the Crow, how long does it take to produce an album like that in the studio?
To produce, we would have, let's see, it would be 10 to 5, right? So that would be with an hour for lunch, 11, 12, so like a 6-hour day, I guess, or something like that. I can't remember the blocks, but we would usually cut 2 a day. And so since there's 17, you do the math, I don't know.
Yeah.
But so it would usually be 2 a day, sometimes 3, but usually we would cut with the band 2 a day, and then Joey just does whatever he does, his magic that he does.
Joey is a champ.
Yeah, and then I would come in and sing, but I mean, and we would try to knock out. I was in a hurry to finish. I was not in the hurry, but we were in a hurry to finish the record, so I was coming in and doing like 3 or 4 songs a day, trying to finish it, and so I would say, I mean, the production, like from the time, I mean, I would say like a year of. But Joey could do it in like, he could do it in 2 months. If
He's
he wanted
next
to.
level.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the rock albums that he's done, that's another thing where this
Amazing.
makes sense, is you have Joey Moy, who has done some of the best rock albums of the last 30 years. I mean, his
Yep.
discography. So I just want to kind of talk about some of these songs. You know, the first half of this album is country. You got track 2. It's a song called Red, featuring Morgan Wallen. What can you tell us about that song?
Man, it's just it's like a down the gut, like mid-tempo, like small town kind of, anthem, I guess you could call it. And it just uses the word red as a device to explain, small town life. But dude, I love the just mid-tempo songs about like small towns. It's like my jam, dude. And it's just one of those, man. I love the song, and I love how we incorporated red through intertwined it through so much, stuff through that song.
Here Lies Country Music. Love that song. It's like a pivotal moment on the album. What's the meaning behind that song?
There's nothing. I think a lot of people thought it was me like leaving country music, and I mean, the bridge even says like you woke up and it was all a dream, you know.
Right.
But no, we wrote that song in Texas on a writing retreat, and it really, man, it truly, we put it at the end of the Mockingbird because it's a symbol of like, all right, the country music is done, and now
Right.
we're moving on to the rock thing. But really, we just wrote it at like to basically say like, could you imagine a world where all the things that you talk about in country songs went away, and how sad that would be, and how
Yes.
you wouldn't have anything to talk about. And that's really all we were really trying to get at with that
Yeah,
song.
it would be crazy for anyone to think, which I know this was never a thing for you. I mean, hey, basically winning the Super Bowl in country music, and I'm gonna get out of it now. Like, it
Yeah,
doesn't make
no
any
way,
sense.
man.
Yeah.
I would never.
There's no
I never
question
wanna
about you leaving
leave.
country. You're doing both.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what's
exactly.
dope about this. That's what's so positive about this. So, the Mockingbird and the Crow, such an epic song where this is a pivotal moment in the record, and you're kind of going from country to rock. Tell us about how that song came together.
Dude, did you know that was the last song we wrote for the record?
No.
I didn't really. We played around with a couple album titles, but I knew I was going to do the half and half thing, but I didn't. We had not found like an album title really, or like a concept, and I was on the Cumberland River one day. I have a little John boat, and I ride up and down the river and fish and just do redneck shit with my friends.
I love it.
And you guys have probably seen this before, but a lot of times in life you'll see a crow flying through the sky and there's a mockingbird that's hanging with it and kind of like pecking at it and stuff. And I've seen that a lot growing up, and I saw that when I was out on the river, and so I was like, man, the mockingbird and the crow sounds like and this was like almost done with my record. And I like wrote that down, the mockingbird and the crow. And it never registered with me that would like perfectly describe or encapsulate the idea of this record. And I had Jordan Schmidt and Brett Tyler out with me. They're two songwriters, and I was playing them some of my record because it was done. I had 8 songs and 8 songs, and I played them Jack and another one of the Kill Shit Till I Die, and they were like, "Dude, we have to write a rock song for the record." And I was like, "The record's done," and they were like, "Yeah, whatever." Sure enough, the next morning I woke up like 10 a.m. walk in the front lounge, and Jordan and Brett are in there writing riffs for a rock song, and I was like, dude, what are y'all doing? And they were like, come on, like, please, we just want to write. And so I started scrolling through my ideas, and that's when I saw the Mockingbird and the Crow, and I was like, fuck, that kind of works. And so I threw the idea out, and I was like, what if we did write one more song for the record called The Mockingbird and the Crow? And, you know, we talked through the whole thing of the struggle between the country and the this and the that, and we just kind of went for it, man. And we wrote The Crow first. The Crow was the first part that we wrote, and then we went back and wrote The Mockingbird and then put them together, and that became sort of what it became.
That outro on that song is so heavy.
Where you go back to the beginning, too. Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Super intentional.
Yeah, it was. So this is a song, again, when you dropped Sold Out, dude, that was probably the song of the year for me. And the hardest opening line, gold records on the sheetrock. Dude, that was so tough, man. I when I first heard that, we laugh about that all the time. Like, you know, that really kind of represents you well. Was this where was this written? How did this song come together?
We wrote that at David Garcia's studio in Berry Hill. He's moved to a different place now, but Sold Out. It was a Monday. I had just gotten off the road from like a 17-day run. Excuse me. I was exhausted. My voice was fucking gone. But I had Hunter Phelps and David Garcia, 2 guys that I write with a ton, and it was like, they're like an easy write. You know what I mean? There was no pressure. Anyway, long story short, David knew that I was trying to lean into the rock thing a little bit more. He produced Jack, or he did the Jack demo, and that was prior to Sold Out, so he knew what direction I was kind of going for. So he played me a few beats or starts that he had, and the intro to Sold Out was one of them, without the Hardy chant, obviously. And I was like, that's actually pretty sick. And I scrolled through my ideas, and I had an idea called Selling Out, and I explained it how it was like selling out, like selling your soul, kind of that, selling out like you've changed, but also selling out. And Hunter was the one that was like, no, what if it was like, it's like sold out, but you haven't sold, and like that. And so Hunter really brought that idea to life, and then and we just decided to make it like personal, to me, and my voice. I remember when we finished the song, and I got in the studio to sing it with David, the demo that day, and when I got to that part, the scream part, I did it, but my voice was so gone that the scream actually worked, because it was like the raspiest that it had ever been, and that's kind of thus the scream was born right there. And
It
then
sounded great.
from then on, I kind of learned how to scream a little bit better, you know?
Yeah, that showed with when you came out with Bill Murray.
Yeah.
So Jack, it's another great song. My takeaway from that song is it's kind of like it speaks a little bit to maybe people relying on alcohol to boost their creativity, maybe boost their confidence sometimes.
Yep.
And everybody's dealt with that maybe personally, whether you're an entertainer or not. Is this something that kind of came to mind when you wrote the song?
Yeah. I just wanted to write a song that kind of just could show you how manipulative, and I drink, I mean,
Yeah, same.
but how manipulative and how tight of a grip, you know, alcohol can have on people that struggle with it. And I've had alcoholics in my family, and I just wanted to write a song to kind of pay homage to the people that had to deal with all that shit, you know what I mean? And to the people that dealt with people that struggled with the voices in their head telling them to, you know, to keep drinking and that type of thing, and just do it from the perspective of Jack as if he were the devil, or, you know, something that had a tight grip on somebody.
Right. So Truck Bed, man, I love Truck Bed. It's so catchy. It's got pop sensibilities.
Yeah.
And then by the end, you're going to do a circle pit.
Yeah.
That was a very creative and kind of off the wall. You don't really hear anything like it. I'm like, oh, this is kind of a pop leading track. And then at the end, I'm like punching holes in the wall and stuff.
Yeah.
It was incredible. How did that song come together?
That I wrote that with Ashley Gorley, Hunter Phelps, and Ben Johnson, same group of people that I wrote "Give Heaven Some Hell" with. And Ben is he can write lyrics and stuff too, but he's a producer writer, so he's the guy at the computer, you know.
Yeah.
And he had that riff, dun, da, 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 and he had like he does a lot of pop stuff, so he had that riff with like the 808 beat over it, and I threw that idea out, and I just started singing. I woke up on the wrong side of the truck, and I mean, we just started writing it, and I love writing songs. Like there's two on this record. There was two on the last record. Boots and Ain't a Bad Day were both like about pissing your girlfriend off, pretty much. And
I love Ain't a Bad
Day. 30-06 on this one, and Truck Bed. I don't know. I don't even piss Callie off that much. They're fun to write, and so it's like a Boots 2.0, man. Except, you know, you wake up with your boots on this time kind of deal. But it's just a fun song that's fun to play live, and we just wanted to kind of send it at the end and go for like a weird, like West Borland-ish kind of, you know, some sort of riff like that at the end, and yeah, it's really fun live. It's really great live.
I can't wait to see it. I'm going to see it soon. So, Radio Song features a very familiar and well-liked name in rock music, Jeremy McKinnon of A Day to Remember. Also, he's a great songwriter. How did that song come together? How did you guys get linked up?
Instagram. All the people that I'm like friends with now. Same deal though, man. I can't remember. I think he reached out first and just said like, "Man, we're all fans of you over here." And I was a huge A Day to Remember fan in high school.
They're so great.
For Those Who Have Heart was like my shit, dude.
Same.
Plot to Bomb the Panhandle, like all the old stuff.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so I had already followed them and kept up with them through the years, and he and I just started chatting, and Darian is a guy that works for me. I call him Scary Darian because he's got tattoos and long hair and face piercings and stuff. And he knew that Jeremy and I had been talking because he's a big metal guy. And when I wrote Radio Song, I got the demo back and I was playing it for my band guys, and Darian was like, "Bro, you should get Jeremy to do that with you." And I was like, "That's actually a really good idea." So I sent it to Jeremy, and Jeremy was like, "I'm in. Can I go in and rewrite the breakdown with Cody from Wage War and cut my vocal on it?" And so they did, and they sent it back, and then the breakdown was like 20 times better, which is the one that is on the record. And that was it, man. He cut his vocal down there, and he did such a good job. He didn't have to come up here to recut. And he just does the screams on the song. But that was it, man. And it's just a funny song about kind of, you know, poking fun at everybody saying you need a radio song, you need a radio song, you know, and that whole deal. And it's just having a sense of humor about that.
Yeah, and hopefully nobody's telling you need a radio song at this point.
Not so much anymore. Maybe a couple years ago.
Okay, so just kind of wrapping up here. What do you want to... Oh, well, first we got one more song to talk about, too. Kill Shit Till I Die.
Kill Shit Till I Die.
Man, that's a hit. How'd that song come together, dude?
That, me and Hunter Phelps came up with that idea. We were deer hunting in Alabama, and I don't even remember. I just said, I think I said it like I'm gonna kill shit till I die as a joke, and we were like, man, that'd be kind of a funny song to write. And at first we wanted to write it like a really country song and like talk about like killing everything, like killing a beer and killing time and killing fucking animals or whatever, deer or whatever. And then he and I got in the room with David Garcia again, and David played that riff. And I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. And I was like, what if we did Kill Shit Till I Die to that? And so we did. And it's actually, man, if you dig into the lyric and read the lyric, it's one of the deeper songs on the record. The chorus is like, the back half is, it basically is talking about if the world ends, do you have the means to survive if the shit hits the fan? Or like it says in the song, if the Walmarts hit the fan. And it's like, you won't find me strapped for backstrap, crying at that crashing NASDAQ. You can bet your country ass that I'm gonna kill shit till I die. And it's basically like I know how to survive, if there's a zombie apocalypse or if the fucking world comes to an end one day.
Yeah, you're a good guy to know. It's like I'm not so much a hunter.
Yeah.
I go fishing a little bit
Yeah.
with my buddy, but
Still kill a fish if you eat it, right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, what do you want to convey to people who haven't ever listened to you before that are looking at you for rock? What do you want to explain to them about this record?
I mean, if you're a rock, there's something for everybody. Man, I don't know. That's a great question. I just hope you like it. I mean, I do. I think there is something there for everybody, and I think the biggest thing that I can convey is at this time, at this moment, right now in my career and in my musical life, this is the music that perfectly describes my sound and who I am and how I want to go about doing both genres. To even some of the heavier songs, like listen to some of the lyrics, because even on the rock side, there are some songs that's got kind of a deeper lyric that's sort of cool if you dig into it. So, I want to do both, and I want to do both forever, and I hope that people can hear that with this record. I think it's like this will be one of the more, of all the records I hope to put out one day. I think this one will be a big staple because it even more than a rock kind of perfectly defines where I'm at right now with my music.
Well, we're certainly rooting for you. And just a few rapid fire questions here to finish things up.
All right, I love it.
Yep. What do you do to get away from all the noise of the entertainment business?
I fish, but I also I collect Native American artifacts, arrowheads and stuff. They're
awesome.
all around here, man, and I find loose dirt, riverbanks, whatever, and I collect arrowheads. It's really cool.
That's very cool. What's something you're very grateful for?
My wife. She's the best, man.
Scoring them points, bro.
No joke, man. She's I got a good one, dude. I don't she's fucking awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Congratulations on your recent wedding too.
Thank you very much, man.
Shout out to Ozzy Osbourne for coming in on that.
Man, right.
That's pretty cool. All right, so what's something you want to improve or get better at this year?
Honestly, playing guitar. I got to a point where I was a really good acoustic player, and then I quit bringing my acoustic to co-writes because you write with so many people that already have shit, and so I'm not good at guitar anymore, and I'd love to get better so that I can be more comfortable playing live.
Do you ever wonder if you're living inside the Truman Show?
Yeah.
So do I.
Or some sort of simulation.
Yeah.
I do, yes, 100%. There's too many fucking weird things.
Who are some of the rock artists that have been really supportive of you making this move?
Jeremy McKinnon is one of them. Chris Franzak from Attila.
Yo, shout out to Attila, dude.
Fuck yeah, bro. Caleb Shomo.
Beartooth.
Yes. He's been a big one, dude. He'll text me out of the
Great
blue. Some of the
songwriter.
nicest shit. Dude, 100%. Rock guys. Johnny Frank from Bill Murray, for sure. Yeah, I think to name a few, that's good. I mean, those were the guys like that personally came out and were like Jeremy was like, bro, the fact that you have like Dead Buck as a song on rock radio right now is like cool. Just showing some love and like giving me some confidence that it can be done, that I can do the rock thing, I guess.
You have a tour coming up.
I do.
When does that kick off?
February 15th. The Mockingbird and the Crow tour. It's the one time I'm going to look at the camera.
Yeah.
We start in Indianapolis, I think, and it goes until I think like May or something, and it kind of crosses over with Morgan Wallen's stadium tour. But yeah, my first real big named headliner tour is this year, and I'm really stoked about it.
Yeah, we're gonna come to the kickoff of that most likely, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this.
Dude, absolutely, man.
Thank you for making time. You're
Absolutely.
a legend. We are in your corner as hard as we can possibly be, rooting for you.
I love it, man.
Congratulations on the new record. You've worked your ass off. You deserve it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yep. And I expect it to be a very big week for you.
Fuck yeah, dude. I'm excited. We'll see. Who are we? Are we up against anybody? Is fucking Beyonce gonna drop a record? We're all alone.
Oh.